Could there be other
Now
reasons?
she said the stuff I'm dealing with. I'm finna be like Shannon Sharp. So now you gonna take a personal shot at me. Speaking of relevant things, today on Willie D Live, Willie D gave me a call, and he was talking about what we was talking about last week about that picture. See that picture? It was a picture. We had a picture of
Boyce
Mr. Boyce Watkins
at the wedding.
Willie D, and it was Boyce Watkins' wife, and it was a picture that we were able to make fun of. Because I could make fun of anything.
Yeah.
Like this picture right here. This is a funny ass picture to me. But I talked to Willie D and Boyce Watkins.
Oh, you done straightened it out.
I straightened it out. Because when Willie D called me after the show last week, I stopped him because we was talking about what happened. I said, stop. Let's use this as a moment to help show youngsters how to de-escalate shit.
Right.
I swear to God, that's what I said.
So, Corey Holcomb and Boyce Watkins brokered a peace deal, a ceasefire, if you will, because it was getting ugly, man. It was getting ugly. But yesterday, on Willie D's live channel, from the Ghetto Boys live channel, a friend of them both, a mutual, what you would say, neutral party, was able to broker a peace deal and show a good example forward for how grown men can iron out their issues like men. Although I still have my criticisms of Boyce Watkins and what he did, I thought this was a real stand-up act for the three of them to come there and iron out their issues like men. You know what I mean? That's what we should be doing in general. That is a positive thing that we can do. And Boyce Watkins did what I suggested that he do in the first place, which was apologize. Because, if we're honest here, Boyce Watkins was the catalyst. When he put that message under Willie D's post of Corey Holcomb and what he said, it was a very emotional response that begat a roasting like no other, a roasting of proportions we rarely see in this day and age. But it gave us some good laughs, I'm just gonna say. They had a conversation and a meeting of the minds that I feel was an example that we need to see more of in these times. Hell, we see all types of YouTube beefs all over the place. And we see some characters that like to keep up that type of activity. But I thought this was really good. I thought this was a really great teachable moment, for lack of a better term.
Without further ado, Dr. Boyce Watkins and Corey Holcomb is in the building. Here we go, gentlemen. Can y'all hear me?
What's up, brother? How y'all doing today?
What's up, everybody?
Everybody's good. All good. Man, it's good to see you brothers, on the same platform, man. And I appreciate both of y'all, coming on to the show and having this conversation. Because I'm going to tell you something. It's a very needed conversation now. Ain't none of us perfect. A lot of times when you see us on these platforms and we doing our thing and we have a disagreement, one person disagree with one thing. You can disagree with one thing that a person got to say, and next thing you know, this person is the Antichrist. I'm just as close to Corey as I am to Boyce. And so it really hurt me that y'all was going at it. Even though I could have nipped it in the bud and deleted that message, I gave my reasons for why I didn't. This is what I want to know. Since Boyce, you kicked it off with your comment. What I want to know is, what did you think was going to happen if you, what did you think was going to happen dropping that comment about Corey? And on top of that, you said you didn't like him, but I also know that you are a fan of Corey Holcomb.
I am.
What was going on in your mind?
It was mixed feelings, man. I'll start from the beginning and say, it sounds contradictory to say this, but Corey's one of my favorite comedians, actually. I like the honesty. You know what I mean? And I think that particular comment triggered me a little bit because I'm very protective of Black women in general. I think that I feel like there's a lot of guys online, man, that just say things, man, that are not helpful to women and children, man. And I think that definitely triggered me. And I have to be 100% honest and say that when the time that I did meet Corey, I can't say I got good energy. But he's right. I didn't say anything about it at the time. And I think that over time, it's allowed me to kind of process who I am. And you've been caught in the middle of other times, man, where like when I went out to Houston and you would tell me, we were talking about Kwame Brown and all that stuff. You know what I mean? And so it's a mix, man. It's like sometimes you're supposed to keep your mouth shut and not say everything, but then sometimes you just say it. And what happens is that it can sound like you have one feeling about a person when it's usually mixed. There's not a single person that I can think of that even people I admire the most. I admire Muhammad Ali and Malcolm X more than anybody else. But if you was to ask me to really tell the truth about what I think about them, I could find negative things to say, right? So it sounds contradictory to people for me to say Corey's one of my favorite comedians. When I found out you and him were such good friends, that made me respect him more because I respect you, and also it led me to accept the fact that I probably misjudged him based on that one interaction. And for that I do apologize because I don't think that was appropriate.
Right, that's big. And shouts out to boy, man.
Hey, you can have your criticism of Boyce Watkins, and he still threw some shots in there about men online that are talking about women. Of course, I still don't think he understands why men are saying things in their platforms, why they're being able to express themselves for the first time, and why it's kind of jarring. That in most cases it's not malicious. It's really actually trying to expose something so that they can then hopefully rectify the situation. But the first things first, it starts off, he has to apologize. Like this conversation in most circumstances doesn't go anywhere without that apology first, because like I said, he kicked it off. Even Willie D called him out. He said he kicked it off. So what did you think was going through your head? What was going through your head?
You don't duck nothing on this internet. You say something, it's gonna get back to somebody, even if you're the type of person who think you can ignore stuff that people bring to you. Because I tell my friends, don't tell me about something bad. Then I kind of stopped you while you was talking, and I said we should do this on air. And the reason I said we should do this on air, because I am aware that there are literally a lot of young people in this world who have no idea how to de-escalate things. So that is the main reason I said, yo, let's do this on the air. Because that's what I said, right? I was like, let's do it on the air. I think it'll be good for the culture. I mean, we all are old enough to de-escalate something. And like I said this when I was talking on the internet. I don't take stuff like that personally because everything we put on the internet belongs to the game. It belongs to the game. Willie D, any picture of you on the internet, Mr. Watkins, any picture of you on the internet, anything we do, like proposing, whatever we do on the internet, it belongs to the game and it'll be dissected by the game. Whether it's good things people say or it's bad things people say, everything we do is going to be dissected. That's why I'm glad we did this like we're doing it right now. Like when I brought up the picture, I didn't have a one where it was, they had the words on it. I don't know if you saw that.
I knew, listen, Corey, I knew, like I said, I knew you was going to go in. That's why when Boyce dropped the comment, I already knew what was going to happen. I knew that was going to happen. So it wasn't about trying to choose a side. It wasn't about that. It was when you used that particular picture and had me in it and got me in it. I'm your friend, but you also know I'm Boyce's friend. That puts me in a compromising position, knowing that I'm this man's friend. You dig what I'm saying? So it wasn't about picking a side. It was about, man, you a comedian. You Corey Holcomb. You ain't just a comedian. You Corey Holcomb. You got a million goddamn jokes you can tell. Why you got to use me?
Because you part of it, Willie. You on the internet and you was like, yo, Corey Holcomb said this about his baby mama. You see how it all trickle? It's not to be mean to nobody. We all are responsible for what we do. And like you, Willie D, Mr. I went Golden Gloves in Texas box and all that shit. It's all in the game, brother. It's not nothing that's like, I'm coming at Willie D now. Man, bro, you ain't never been nothing but nice to me. Every time I come to Texas, dog.
Also say this, my wife, I talked to my wife about how she felt about everything. Everybody listening, man, I think you can find more benefit to your life by finding the things you rally around, the things you have in common, the good in people, than always focusing on the negative. And I can also say this, my wife, I talked to my wife about how she felt about everything. She's good. You know what I mean? So when we come to LA, maybe we sit down and eat or something, man. I'd like for you to get to know her. I'd like to get to know you, because I think maybe that first impression when I went to 5150 was not the best. But next time around, man, I'll come to your show.
A gentleman, I would just say people need to look up the definition of the word gentleman. I think it's our job to be gentlemen toward each other, man. We can't the word you is used too commonly toward too many things that are precious. We really have to understand, man, a lot of this can be fixed with a conversation. Mm-hmm. A lot of shit can be fixed with conversation. That's why, Willie D, when you called me, I was like, man, let's talk about it on air for the culture, because this turns out now people may have all kinds of things about Boyce, Watkins, and Corey going at it and all like that. But I wonder what they gonna say now that we all are together. You get what I'm saying? I like that uncomfortable, like the people who done talk shit, like in ways where they try to pit us all against each other. Now they got to actually do some work and come together and say something good about the brothers as they, because that's hard to say something good about somebody. It's easy to come up with bullshit, but saying something good about somebody, let's see what they got to say about all us coming together now.
Challenge accepted. Anyway, I think this was a very positive summit, meeting of the minds. I've admitted on this channel, I used to listen to Boyce Watkins on a regular basis. I listened to Corey pretty much weekly since he was on the Foxhole. Willie D, I've respected for years as a rapper and as an activist. So yes, I can absolutely admit, as someone who is a third party to this, who could be seen as somewhat propagating it, there was a reason for that. Because I knew that Boyce Watkins was biting off way more than he could chew, Of course, there is the interest of YouTube content and, building of this platform. But I can always admire and respect three black men, mature in age, coming to have conversation like men, getting their issues out on the table, solving their problems and walking away from it healed. That's positive in any stretch of the imagination. And I think one other good growth out of this is that Boyce Watkins, I think, realizes how important it is not to alienate the men that listen to him. Because having this conversation and writing off Corey's audience as ignorant and uneducated and a throwaway population, that's never going to fly, especially with the work that he's trying to do in the black community. So I think there was growth in all ways. Of course, Corey, has had his battles in the past. Like he said, he never took this seriously. He was just signifying. He was just doing his job basically as a comedian, which is to roast, and something comes over, a slow pitch comes over the plate, like that picture, he's going to analyze it and get every little joke out of it he can, But so, this is, like Corey said, this is something the culture needs to see more often, because there was a time in history, and I don't know if it happens so much anymore, where you would have elders in the community, OGs, that were able to say, hey, let's sit down and talk about this before it gets out of hand. Let's sit down and squash this beef. And that has always been an admirable feature of the black community. Being able to talk things out, to communicate. The importance of communication is on display here because, like you said, it could be some beef. Now, both of these guys are of a certain age. I would hope that they would never make any rash decisions to go out there and do something crazy. So I always knew that there was some type of peace within this. But the ego had to get out of it. Boyce's ego had to get out of it. Corey's ego had to get out of it. And they just had to come to a place where they could see eye to eye. And I think this is a positive step forward. This is something that will be an example, will be a moment that we can learn from, that we can also grow from as a collective. Because I've never been a person that holds grudges, to my fault at some point. At a certain time, I just don't have the energy to stay mad at you all the time. You know, now I ain't no pushover. So you gonna get some shots. You'll get some shots back. But to sit there and stay mad at somebody for years on end is such a waste of time. And I think we know that inherently. Best of luck to these brothers out here, because they out here, you know, doing their craft. I actually felt really bad when I heard Boyce Watkins' Instagram and Facebook was shut down. That was just a weird timing that happened. I actually felt some kind of way, and I was feeling for the brother, because you don't want anybody to lose any money over what they say. You know what I mean? And we know that there's censorship all over the place. And so, you know, that's what we talk about when we talk in these Corey Holcomb videos anyway, a lot of the time, is the freedom of speech, that bring bluntness back that I came up with. I coined that term, bring bluntness back, you know. That would be my contribution to this. So yeah, you don't want anybody to lose their freedom of speech in any of these situations. But shout out to Willie D, shout out to Corey Holcomb, shout out to Boyce Watkins, and definitely shout out to Willie D for brokering this peace, because, you know, it's necessary, y'all. It's needed. And like we said, I think the black male image gets so warped sometimes that it's so overly aggressive, overly confrontational, that we don't think that this type of thing exists. And it does. It exists on a regular basis. Trust and believe. You know, I've got uncles that used to do this type of thing. You got street dudes that had this type of conversation, because we know the alternatives and we never want to see unneeded conflict. If you like this video, like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell notification for all uploads. If you want to see more, please click one of these videos down below. This is Faucette Media.